Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Abundance Lifestyle Show with Becky Mulcahy. And we are so happy you're with us again this week. We have a special guest speaker this week, Heather Seashore. She is a clinical pharmacist. She's been featured in numerous Denver area news broadcasts. She's a pharmacist, but her passion is teaching people about helping themselves heal their bodies with nutrition rather than medications and surgery. And she's very, very good at this. She's quite a fascinating person, very knowledgeable, and we're super excited to learn from her today. She has a lot to teach us, and she loves doing this, and you guys are going to love this show, I'm pretty sure. So, hi, Heather. Thanks so much for joining us today. Welcome to the Abundance Lifestyle Show. We're so glad you're with us.
Thank you so much. This is super exciting, a good break in the day to get and talk about one of my passions, which is nutrition and health. And we're going to focus a little bit today on athletics and nutrition. However, I want to point out that everybody is an athlete. I'm not specifically talking about high level.
Yay!
Yeah. If you go around the park taking a walk, you're an athlete. So
good.
Yeah. So anything else before we get started on the presentation?
No, we're so excited. It's great information. I'm so excited to hear what you're going to share. And I know you've got a presentation, a slide presentation, and just excited that you're here.
Yeah, I joke about some of the people that I do presentations with in the medical field, it's always geared towards slideshow presentations and data and charts. And when I was preparing this presentation, my husband's like, you are going to data these people to death. So I hope that's not the case. Hopefully it's just a little smattering of it. But this is actually a slideshow presentation I did back in November with a gentleman named Sanjeev Javia, who is on the medical board and athletic board of a number of nutrition companies, and he also owns his own consulting firm for high-level professional athletes. So it was super exciting to get to work together and provide his sports knowledge and science knowledge with my clinical practice and within pharmacy and medicine. So there's going to be excerpts. I'm going to show you slides. I'll talk like this, and then there'll actually be a little bit of video from Sanjeev on his talks that I kind of wanted to make sure you guys have a from the horse's mouth, I guess, so to speak, of what his take is. So with
awesome.
that, I am going to screen share and jump into the slideshow presentation.
Cool.
So let's get started there. And we'll go right to it.
Yep, looks great, Heather. You're on.
Okay, perfect. So the topic of the slideshow today is the nutritional and supplementation needs of performance athletes. And I want to put in the caveat of performance athletes, because like I said, if you're exerting any sort of energy throughout the day, you are considered an athlete. So like Becky said a little bit about me, I actually played volleyball at Kansas State. So the upper picture is how I spent 4 years of my life, and it was a very near and dear to my heart to be able to have that camaraderie and team building events. And I got my degree in public health and nutrition while I was there, and then went on to get my doctorate of pharmacy at the University of Colorado. And what I realized is that although I thought I wanted to go to pharmacy school because I wanted to study the effects of drug and food interactions, I ended up just working in a hospital and kind of going into every realm that there was that you could do in a hospital: joint replacement, oncology, surgery, anything that department in a hospital, I pretty much was there. And what I started realizing in the last 9 years is that people, going to the hospital acutely, if you have an injury, if you've got, a car accident or something traumatic, is a great place to be for a hospital. However, I feel like it's not the best place to treat chronic diseases. And so I took a step backwards and kind of went back to my roots of public health and nutrition and thought, there's got to be more to it than this, than just medications and just surgeries, because those are never fixing the root cause of why is the body breaking down. And so that's kind of the focus here of my talk today. So, why do we need to talk like this? Because looking at this, specifically I'm gearing it towards athletes, but seeing an athlete on the, lying down on the court in pain because of an injury, how does that really relate to the picture right next to it, which is, you know, a bunch of food in our food supply. These are seemingly not related. However, what you'll find out in the next few minutes is that these do go hand in hand. And again, it's not, you can only be able to treat disease and treat injuries with nutrition, but it's a huge component of it that's not necessarily on the forefront of our minds when we think about these things. So here, you know, is a couple of articles that are in the newspapers lately. I was even talking with Becky last week. There was an article that came out about a mother of 4 who passed away crossing the marathon line. And although these seem rare because, you know, athletes are in the top condition and they're theoretically doing all these great things for themselves, we still see these stories of, you know, high school and college athletes dying on the field, or female athletes having ACL injuries. And I myself am one of those statistics. I have an ACL injury to my left knee that I incurred in college. Nicola leading me to bone breaks. So this is something that's affecting our athletes younger and younger and younger. And so basically, you know, here's the token data slides. There'll be a few more, but what I want to get through to you on this slide is that 1.35 million children have serious sports injuries every year, of which they have to seek treatment in the ER.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And so
That's crazy.
looking at the right-hand side, most of these are strains or sprains. And so more and more are taking place, and they're taking place earlier and earlier in our children's lives and in a lot of vulnerable areas. And something that's been interesting is that there's been more, even since I was a young athlete, there's been more technology developed in braces and protective equipment and changing the amount of contact that you can have between, you know, 2 players. And yet I don't remember having myself or my teammates have this amount or these severe injuries as young as we did. And even myself, when I was playing it, you know, as a Division I athlete, I was in the best physical shape I'd ever been in. I was running faster than I'd ever ran, lifting more weight, had the lowest body fat percentage, and yet I sustained 2 major injuries within my back and my ACL. And fast forward 15 years, these injuries are following me because I never fixed the root cause of what was happening. So, and as this kind of leads then into my next slide, as far as the adult athlete, aging process, your body just is, you know, it's naturally just running out of resources, so to speak, without proper supplementation. But that as anything ages, you start to have less performance, and your ability to perform as long as you used to be able to is greatly reduced. And so the natural aging process, coupled with, if you're not supplementing or eating a nutrient-dense diet, you're then adding on top of that nutritional deficiencies, and we're getting into actual physiological changes within the body, all kind of coupled together. And that's why a lot of people see these all kind of combined together. And there's some sources of frustration. You know, the weekend warriors are such that can't do what they used to be able to do for as long as they used to be able to do it. So in looking at, you know, so the guidelines for the National Institutes of Health, and these are all very sound guidelines, you know, warm up before you exercise, absolutely, and cool down, you know, stretch, play to your ability. If you're a novice athlete, you're not going to go hang out with the professionals because you're going to likely get hurt. Wearing the protective gear like we talked about, having any sort of, seeing a healthcare provider just to make sure that there's nothing physically that would prevent you from performing, and using proper mechanics. But a big component that's left out is, what about nutrition? What are you using to fuel your body? What are you using to, you know, build your body so strong? What if we could build our bones and our joints and our tendons so strong that we don't need to depend on these braces and protective equipment and all of the kind of, for lack of a better word, crutches, so to speak. So I always joke, if you're in a medical conference and somebody throws up the Krebs cycle, you get like 1,000 bonus points. So here's my token 1,000 bonus points. So all this slide is really showing you is that this is the way that your body takes glucose, which is in the upper left-hand corner of the slide, and fat. So basically the components of your food. This is a graphic picture of how your body takes the key components of your food and all of the processes that your cells do to create energy, your ATP. So this is in chart form when you're eating a piece of chicken or broccoli or, you know, some coconut oil or something. This is what pictorially happens within your body. And what I really want you to understand is that the things that are circled in the pink are vitamins, minerals, vitamins and minerals essentially that are all important parts of creating this cycle to continue and to create energy. So, you know, when I say supplement, I don't say, hey, take some supplements because you might feel better, you might be able to run a little faster or lift a little more weight. Like, I'm talking on the cellular level that these are key components to life. And that your body is resilient and it has reserves. But with anything, I mean, if you've got 1 quart of oil in your tank of your car, you're going to run out of it eventually, and then your car's not going to operate. It's the same thing with your body. And so understanding then about how the body uses the energy, and because we are also, you know, not necessarily supplementing with as an athlete, athletes are also kind of bombarded with these Rockstar energy drinks and Gatorade. I mean, I know when I was in college, we were sponsored by Gatorade, and theoretically, Gatorade is great from an electrolyte standpoint as far as replenishing that. But if you look at what I've shared with you guys, look at the amount of sugar that's in, you know, not even a very large serving. I mean, I would wager that throughout competition or throughout the day that our young athletes are drinking more than just one of these. And so sugar, adding extra sugar to the body is breeding ground for inflammation, for disease, and also couples with, it interferes with that last slide like I showed you with the minerals, it interferes with the way the body is able to even absorb the minerals themselves.
Wow.
And so one more chart, you know, this one is kind of the meat and potatoes of the presentation, is that it's all about the minerals. So we've established the reasons that minerals are so important for your body to regenerate on a daily basis, whether it's just daily life and then adding stressors. Exercise is considered a stress on top of that. You're depleting the minerals at a very rapid rate. And so you're depleting the minerals that you already have, yet this chart is showing you on the x-axis is time-wise. So in 1910, it's showing that there was, you know, little under 500 parts per million concentration of minerals in our soil. And as you see, as time goes on, and this is almost 10 years old, the concentration of minerals is depleting at a rapid rate. A lot of it has to do with that, you know, we became technologically advanced and our farming practices became mechanized and we got way more efficient. And a lot of it too happened after World War II when we started adding NPK and fertilizers to the soils, which in theory was great because we could get great yields, we could feed a lot of people, but what it was also doing is leaching the very minerals in the soils that we needed to create the nutrient valued food that we were seeking. So, and then this slide here, this is one of my favorite slides. It's basically taking the information from the last slide, so it's showing you still that concentration of minerals decreasing over time, but it's also overlaying information taken from the Centers of Disease Control, the American Heart Association, to show what a direct correlation there is. As mineral composition goes down in the soil, we see a drastic increase in chronic diseases like cancer, obesity, bone deformities, heart conditions. And so seeing how the two were interrelated, this slide really hits home with the fact that there is a correlation between chronic diseases. It's not just you just pick a bad card in the deck and say, oh, it was my time to get a bone deformity or it was my time to get a heart condition. That's your body's way. Those symptoms are your body's way of showing you that you're deficient in certain minerals more than others. And those are the symptoms that you manifest. So, yeah, there's a lot of information on that slide. However, that's kind of the gist of it. So as if, you know, our diet, that it has a lot of sugar in it and processed foods, and now we've got less minerals, less nutrient-rich compositions of the foods that are grown isn't enough. Our lifestyle is one in which, you know, people are always on the go, especially, you know, I don't want to say only with families with young athletes, but when you've got school activities and you've got one parent going one way and the other going the other way, or, you know, you're going from one job to the other, whatever, everybody is busy. And so this slide is showing you, like, back in the late 70s, 82% of our meals were provided with food prepared at home. So they had control of using the whole foods, cook in the ways that you wanted to create that healthy lifestyle. And going forward now into 2005, 2008, and I mean, this is even 10-year-old data almost, it's gone down from 82% to 68%. And so that food that we're eating is most of the time on the go. It's not necessarily fresh or prepared well. I don't want to say not always, sometimes it is. However, it's just all of these factors together are kind of coupling together with the picture of why are we in a health crisis that we're in right now. And so the whole point of why vitamins and minerals are even vital, I kind of wanted to just touch on this real quick. So vitamins in and of themselves don't really do a whole lot. Minerals themselves don't really do a whole lot. What they do is they react with other things to create an enzyme. And enzymes are kind of what unlocks and creates a lot of the magic that happens in the body. I kind of probably should have included this slide a little bit before. However, to understand that having enough storage in your body of these vitamins and minerals allows your body to repair, to regenerate, to allow healthy cells, a robust immune system, so that, you know, if it is cold and flu season, you don't necessarily have to be susceptible to that. If you've got a good, healthy immune system and you've got a lot of these vitamins and minerals that are kind of waiting in the wings to react and heal if you do get exposed to something. So this is the part of the talk that when we were in Denver, Sanjeev did a wonderful job of kind of explaining. This is his wheel well as far as his consultation with high-level professional athletes, when, you know, really tailoring their food and their performance and things like that. And so I am going to transition over to his talk, and we're going to just watch him for a few minutes just to kind of understand then the importance of the carbohydrates, the fats, the proteins, and then how does that go hand in hand with these vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. So Becky, let me know if you're not able to see this, but I'm going to go ahead and push play here.
We can see it fine, but there's no audio.
No audio. Well, that's a bummer. Okay. So no audio, huh?
Might just have your volume down.
I have it up all the way 100%. So maybe they well, essentially what he's going to tell you, and I'll stop screen sharing here so that I can talk to you. So essentially what he's going to tell you is that he talks about the importance of, you know, understanding the ratios of protein. So his recommendation is eating 0.5 gram of protein per pound of body weight, because eating any more than that, your body has a hard time processing it. And he also talks about the importance of using protein in conjunction in a meal with a carbohydrate, because of the way that the body processes things it's very intricate in the ways that it doesn't necessarily tell you that it's craving chicken or that it's craving broccoli. It's craving the components that are in those foods so that it can be able to use them. So your body doesn't see, your cells don't see broccoli, your cells don't see chicken. They see the protein and the carbohydrate and the fat, and that's what they're kind of telling you that they need in relation to what they're going to use when you're ingesting them. So even though your mind thinks that you're craving ice cream, it's probably craving maybe the fat that's in the ice cream or something similar to that. So, and then once the body has the macronutrients, which is the carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, that kind of satisfies the physiological or metabolic processes that the body needs to, heal the major cells. And then the vitamins and minerals are all kind of just, like we showed in the earlier slides, they're the ones that are filling in the pieces of those big processes that are helping the body then create the enzymes to then digest those foods or to heal the body. So not to get too techie in science about that, but I'm sorry that you weren't able to hear the audio, because he, you and I know Sanjeev, and he's amazing and he's awesome, and so maybe
he's hilarious, and he is actually a consultant for really top NBA and NFL athletes, and he's quite a big dog in that field. He's very knowledgeable, and he's really funny about it too. He's quite hilarious.
Absolutely.
You can try it again if you want. Maybe there's just a delay, or
okay, let me do that.
It's working fine. I don't know.
Okay, maybe I can share this. Just a sec. Let's try this real quick.
Sure.
Can you see my slide?
I see a cone.
Let me see this. Okay, let's try. Okay. So can you hear that?
Just barely. Can't make it out.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer. I have it on as loud as it'll go, so
yeah.
Let's go back then to the slideshow. Can you see the slideshow?
Not yet. I just see the cone still.
Oh, you just see the cone?
Yeah, there's just a cone on there.
Oh, dang it. Okay. So we're going to stop screen sharing for a second.
Okay, now you're back.
Okay, yay. I'm going to switch here real quick.
Okay.
Can you see Sanjeev?
Yep, I see him.
I'm going to try this one more time.
Okay.
Is that any better?
Nope, can't hear him at all.
Okay. I apologize, audience. I'm new to this techie stuff here. Okay. All right. So we're going to go back to the slideshow then, and maybe I can work with Becky to get a copy of this video on her site so you guys can see it.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we can put a link in down below too.
Okay, perfect. So now can you see the slide?
Yeah, macro and micronutrients.
Okay, great. So another thing that Sanjeev was talking about is understanding that when you have a good foundation of nutrition where you're eating whole foods, you're eating things that, you know, for the most part have as much nutrient value as you can, that's providing your foundation to then have these extra vitamins and minerals working that much more efficiently. And I even say that to the patients that I counsel. You know, some people, I don't say that you can only be on medication or you should only be on supplementation. I definitely feel like there is a need for both. And using medications and supplementing along with them, supplements actually help the body process and digest and use the medication more effectively. So oftentimes I see my patients being on a lower dose when they're supplementing because your body's just operating on a more efficient way. So it's kind of a nice, I guess, side effect, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, talking about these micronutrients, which again are the vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, in an athlete's performance, it helps with that energy production, which is again that whole Krebs cycle that I showed you with those things circled in pink. It helps with hemoglobin synthesis. So synthesizing your hemoglobin allows your red blood cells to carry more oxygen. If you can carry more oxygen, your endurance is longer, you can sustain, you know, bursts of of rapid activity, but you can also endure longer lengths of activity as well. And certainly for bone health and immune function. And myself as a personal story, like I talked about earlier, I sustained a back injury when I was a freshman, I guess, in college, so 18, 19 years old, and I did, what those recommendations were as far as cooling, or stretching before, cooling down after. I was using anti-inflammatories. I would remember fondly dunking myself in an ice tank at the end of practice to just reduce that inflammation like up to my navel. It was awful. However, doing all of the things, being cautious, doing extra weight training, and it got me through, and I was able to continue to perform. However, like I talked about, those injuries followed me. So fast forward 15 years later, I ended up having a nerve impingement in the same location that I had the initial injury. Except this time, I had passed out at work. Because the nerve got pinched so bad, I was told by my physician that I would have to do steroid injections and be on high-dose painkillers and never be able to run again. And thank God for being introduced to supplements and Dr. Wallach and getting on the phone with him and getting a regimen. I was able to, contrary to a lot of popular medical belief, I was able to regrow that cartilage and strengthen those soft tissues and around the bones and strengthen the bones themselves, so that 9 months later I was running and I have not had issues. So that's the power of giving the body what it needs. The body is divine and it can heal itself. You just have to give it what it needs. And that's where I feel the disconnect is with prescription meds, in that they block the symptoms and never really help fix the problem. So to continue on with the slide, however, so that, as I think that we've created the understanding for the audience that you're increasing your activity, you're revving up your engine, so to speak, you're increasing the turnover of which the body uses those raw materials, the minerals, the vitamins, the nutrients. You're increasing your risk of deficiency, even more so than the average person that might not exercise at all, what we call a couch potato. And if you understand from those slides and the charts that I showed you, everybody walking around is minerally deficient to begin with. So yes, being an athlete is great, and it affords you, a lot of numerous benefits. However, if you're exercising and you're not supplementing and refueling your tank, you're actually doing yourself more harm than good, which is something that I was never taught, even as an undergrad in public health and nutrition. So this is my passion, to get this message out to people, to have them really understand how their body is working. And so, a lot of questions I get are like, okay, so I get the problem, I'm vested in fixing it, now what do I do? How do I find a supplement that is something that's worthwhile? And so there's certain terms that are out there that are, important to understand the difference between natural versus organic. The FDA doesn't necessarily have a lot of regulation around what you can say is natural. I could say something is natural in a granola bar. It just means that it's a very loosely used term, versus organic. Organic is, there's certain fields that have been laid where they're not allowed to use pesticides yet for a certain number of time. However, natural and organic doesn't mean anything with the nutritional value. Organic isn't more nutrient dense. It just has to do with what was what the plant was grown in the soil. And I'm sure for those of you in the audience that are way more attuned to that, hopefully I didn't leave out any important details, but as my understanding of it, And then GMO free is something that I have a passion about, because I have 2 little kiddos, and using, genetically modified organisms is what GMO stands for. That's a whole nother topic. We could have another talk on, Becky, I think, down the road. But, so looking for those certifications, looking at something that's natural versus synthetic. Synthetic is another interesting thing. We think that synthetic is bad. However, in the manufacturing process of supplementation, synthetic, if I am formulating something and it's been touched by human hands along with in the formulation of the bottling process, it therefore has to be labeled synthetic. So it doesn't necessarily always mean that it's not, in itself synthetic. If it's not from a natural substance, it's not naturally occurring. it's kind of a confusing term. Let's see what else. Supplementation certification programs. There's so many out there. Some of them have, some of them are very reputable, others not so much. So again, it's going off of, I've done a tremendous amount of research with what's out there as far as certain lines, like, you go into a Vitamin Cottage or a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's, and there's supplements everywhere. And even as a high-level educated professional in this, I still get confused with what's out there. However, with my background, I wanted to see what has research, what has solid, grounded research that I can say, you know what, not a lot of these natural supplement companies are going to go through the time, energy, and expense to show that their products are efficacious, that they actually have the ingredients that they list on their bottle that's actually in them, and they actually work. And so not only does Youngevity do that, but they also back their products by third-party verified research, which for me just stood the test of time in comparing any other product line, which we'll get into in a second. Proprietary blends means that each of these companies is going to have kind of their own little special sauce, like, not that I'm a McDonald's fan, but they kind of had their special sauce, right? And that set them apart. So proprietary blends are something that's kind of kept secret, because if they weren't, everybody could go replicate it. And so Youngevity has proprietary blends. Other supplement companies have proprietary blends, and it just means that they've used unique ingredients in certain concentrations. And then liquid versus tablet. Typically the younger you are, it doesn't really matter if it's liquid versus tablet. As we age, we start to lose digestive enzymes, and so tablets can sometimes be difficult to break down because of the lack of digestive enzymes. So that's really, liquids obviously easy absorbed, but it also has to do with what's your lifestyle. If you're on the go or you travel a lot, liquids aren't necessarily going to be the easiest thing for you to travel with either. So in my opinion, as long as you're supplementing and you're getting something, whatever form you do it in is your prerogative. So how do you get what your body needs? So, in a perfect world, and if I could, shout from the mountaintops that everybody could get what they needed from their food and their nutrition, that would be my ideal way to do it. And as I've presented and created the case for, it's just not possible in this day and age with the way that we are with our farming supply. And it's no fault of the farmers. It's just, it's what's happened with, if you're constantly taking out and not putting back in, you're going to create a deficit eventually. And through the research that I talked about, and with the founder of Youngevity, who is a very renowned physician, published, has a book published in the Smithsonian, has sued the FDA. He's the reason why we have folic acid in our prenatal vitamins. He's the reason why people can tout the heart benefits of fish oil. So to stake my flag on his research, he's decided in all of the things that he's learned that 90 essential nutrients is what the body needs to live and thrive. So, my husband is a computer IT guy, and he's super analytical. And so when we first got introduced to Youngevity, he decided he was going to try to price out every single one of the 90 essential nutrients to see if he could get it cheaper. And I'm here to tell you folks that he got to number 23, and he ran out of sources to find some of them, and he was already 3 times over budget. So
wow, that's interesting. Wow.
So I thought, he gave me a list. He's like, hey, so go to work and see if you can find like XYZ nutrients and tell me what price they are. I couldn't even access them as a pharmacist. So
wow,
what they've done and how they've created this product is just, it's truly mind-blowing. Again, to get your body what it needs, it has to be easy to use. If it's complicated and you have this, I run into this with patients and their medications all the time. If they've got to remember 5 different times in the day to take anywhere from 1 to 5 pills, the chances of them being compliant go down drastically. It's the same thing with supplements. If you're having to do this intricate regimen, you're not going to take it. If you're not going to take it, it's not going to do you any good, and it'll be a waste of money. So that's not the goal here. Let's make it easy to use. Let's make it absorbable so your body can use it easily, and let's make it quality. And then I already talked about the third-party verified research. So, Clemson University, University of Manitoba, the University of Minnesota, these are major universities that have verified and endorsed, I don't know if endorsed is the right word, but they vouched for that the longevity products they're legitimate, and they're clinically the best on the market. And so again, this information is just to get out for you to understand kind of where we are with our current state of health and chronic disease. And if you're looking for an option, and like I said, I've done a lot of research with what's out there. Longevity has made it very easy to understand of just kind of how to get started. So if you're just looking to get started with the 90 essential nutrients, then the Healthy Start Pack is for you. And what I love about what they've done is that their dosing is based off of your weight, so that I don't have to buy separate products for my kids. I don't have to buy separate products for my husband and for myself. We take the same things. We just, my son uses a half a scoop. I use a scoop and, maybe a half. My husband uses 2 scoops. It's the same stuff, just different quantities, which makes it super easy, like we just talked about. If it's easy to understand and easy to use, then people are going to do it. Now, if there's other conditions, I kind of highlighted the 3 that typically happen with athletes. However, there's 3 or 4 other health packs that they also offer for other people. So the 2 here are the bone and joint pack. We talked about. There's a lot of repetitive use and injuries related to bones and joints, especially when you're athletes. So these are products that Dr. Wallach's formulated specifically to help support the structure and function of the bones and joints. And the Healthy Athletic Pack, again, to support the structure and the function. There's nothing here to cure. There's nothing here to fix. Athletes are going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. You could get hurt walking down the street. Now the question is, did you have enough in your storage tank to be able to heal and recover from that? Those are the things that we're getting at here. Can you recover from that injury instead of having it linger with you for 15 or 20 years? So,
do you think it also helps prevent it too, Heather?
Say again?
Do you think it also helps prevent injuries?
Absolutely. I mean, again, if you're going to have a contact injury, I can't help prevent that. You can probably, with a proper nutrition and support, you can help prevent the severity of it. However, talking about when we went to the first couple of slides with the gal that, unfortunately crossed the finish line of the marathon and proceeded to have, I'm not sure exactly the whole details, but oftentimes what we see is that people have enlarged hearts because they've been exercising so long. Like having a simple element of selenium along with the whole system of the 90 essential nutrients, having the body work like that and having those stores can help the vasculature, can help prevent those long-term consequences. So,
and isn't that sad? She has 4 children and she thought she was making herself so healthy.
Right.
Marathon running, and she passed away because lack of nutrition.
Right. And that's the thing, is that when I think so many people are programmed to think nutrition, they're thinking, is it related to weight, or is it related to your diet, so to speak, of like your fat, your protein, your carbohydrates? Yet it's so much more than that. And I'm hoping that that's the message that got relayed in this presentation, of understanding, I'm not telling you, and I'm not telling myself and my husband, who's a marathon runner himself, to take these to feel better. So maybe you can cut a few minutes off your time. It's to create your cellular health so that your body is around for the next, 10, 15, 20, 50 years. So, yeah.
Well, and also, physically and also mentally, Alzheimer's and all that. I mean, it's basic foundational building blocks, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Every cell.
Yep. And that's the thing too, Sanjeev talked about in the presentation that, you and I, you have Alzheimer's cells in you. You have cancer cells in you. I have, lupus cells in me. It's silly to think that you just, you're just granted one day that this is the quote unquote disease that you get. It's more so, are you creating, and I love that your program is called Abundance Lifestyle. Are you creating a lifestyle in which you're not allowing these cells or these genetic, and some of it's genetic, some of it's not, but you're allowing those things to manifest. So you can control that, with proper nutrition supplementation, with living a lifestyle that's not, you're just a huge stress ball and you're angry all the time, or whatever that is, right? So, yeah. Sorry, went off on a little tangent there.
Well, you know what? That is exactly what we're trying to learn in the Abundance Lifestyle Show, because a lot of this information is 180 degrees opposite of what we've been told forever. Because we don't understand what where the mechanisms really interact, what the prevention is, or why. They don't really understand at all the mechanics of all of this functioning. And so somebody like you that's a pharmacist, you know about the whole drugs and, prescription medication side of things, somewhat probably more the surgery, all that stuff. I think it lends tremendous credence and authority that you go, wow, how about prevent some of this? How about let's look at the other side of this of what's the root cause of this? How do we fix the root cause of this? Not try to fix it afterwards, but prevent it or minimize the damage from it. I just think that it's so great to be getting this knowledge out to absolutely everybody. How about our kids before they get to that point?
Absolutely. I mean, what can we do? I know that once I became a parent, I got very focused on what their nutrition was. However, there's like level 1.0 and there's level 2.0, and so, and to touch on what you talked about too with the prevention and being 180-degree thought process different, it's going to take people like you, Becky, and people that are listening to really have an open mind and to encourage others out there. And my mission as healthcare providers to have an open mind to think, okay, medicine and surgery and interventions within the healthcare system have gotten us so far. And in certain places, they're very much life-saving. And where are we honestly taking a step backwards or not helping people and having the open mind to say, okay, well, what can we do differently? And so I don't want to fault anybody in the medical profession, because honestly, we don't get educated on the importance of what I talk about today, And so,
and how frustrating for them where their hearts are to try to help people. They don't have the knowledge. It's not working. It's like they used to say, well, just have the 4 food groups and you're all set. No, you're not. No, you're not. It's just big, big holes in the knowledge base. And to get this kind of information out there, I got to believe people must know, like the people that I come into contact with anyways, when you talk about these things, they know it's not working. They know that what we've been taught so far is not working. And so to see the landscape of that knowledge and go, wow, what's wrong here? What's missing here? And then you talk about, you know what, Doc Wallach for 40 years, he knows what he's talking about as a pathologist, as a vet that's cured 900 diseases in animals, and then as a human physician, crazy stats on what he's been able to accomplish. People need to know about that. And when they hear that, it resonates and they go, wow, duh, that makes sense.
Right. It's so simple. There's nothing.
Trying to get the story out because it's not what we've been ever told.
Right. So I just, like I said, I love that there's a platform such as what you're providing, and you've got people coming in that are open-minded and willing to stretch themselves beyond what they've been told and to question with good intentions, not to be malicious about it, but to question with good intentions, like, okay, what's best for me? Like, here's what I've been told, but what's going to be best for me? What's going to be best for my family? What's going to be, and to take it a step farther, what's going to be best for our population? Because right now, I feel like we're going down the wrong train track.
Well, in our children, I mean, everybody's concerned about their children and the injuries that you see now in elementary school. They say you used to only see in college. That's getting younger and younger. The deficits have gone on many, many years now. And so I think you're seeing probably a cumulative effect from that where there's no, minerals in the soils. So I just think the whole overall picture, it's so great to know what's happening and how to protect your children, yourself, and how to move towards that whole, health and abundance end of the spectrum, because that's the whole idea.
Right. And you bring up a good point too with the children having the injuries earlier. So we've kind of established in the presentation, the food supply and what our food sources look like. However, another thing too, and especially that Dr. Wallach figured out from such an early stage in his career, is that it happens with the maternal health too. So if your parents are deficient, they're oftentimes passing those deficiencies on to the children. And so pretty soon, that's why you're seeing these deficiencies or these injuries sooner, right? Because those stores, the body, like I said, is resilient, but those stores eventually run out. And so when the body's deficient in something, it'll either hoard and hold on to it as long as it can, or it repletes it out and then the body's in breakdown. So.
Well, and then my understanding is the babies will take a lot of what they need. And then we've seen very public, very dramatic stories of like postpartum issues where people get really skitsy and no fault of their own, and they don't even know, but they don't have the nutrition left in their own self to be healthy physically or mentally. I think that there's just such need across every spectrum for this information. I think it's so critical for everyone.
Yeah. Yep. And it's like you talked about, it's a simple message. I mean, it's science, and the message is something that anybody can understand. It's
perfect common sense. People hear it, they resonate, they go, oh yeah, that makes sense, and because it's not making sense what we're doing now, so
yep.
It's all good.
Well, I don't have anything else to present, but I'm open to questions, or like I think Becky had mentioned, we'll be taking questions until the next airing of the show. So
yes, absolutely. Everybody put your questions, comments down in the chat box down below, and we'll get answers from Heather. You can watch her replay all week long till next Wednesday's live show again. And after that, she'll be on the YouTube roster of all the archived shows that we have on the Abundance Lifestyle Show. So I really, really appreciate all your knowledge and teaching today, Heather. I think it's fascinating. I think it's so critical, and people need to know. Everybody deserves to have this information and why it hasn't been working as well as it should, and what we can all do to safeguard ourselves and our families and everyone that we care about.
Absolutely. Yeah, this can be the start of a new healthcare revolution, where personal responsibility and understanding how you can be your own best advocate for your health.
I think it absolutely already is. I think people are searching for that. I don't think the information's out there very widely yet. But matter of time here, I think. People are looking for this. It's important information, so
yep.
We love hearing about it, and you were fabulous. Like I heard you were. Yep, sure enough. And I really appreciate you coming on. I hope we can do a follow-up show. I know you have a specific interest, don't you, with children, nutrition in children, that we could do?
Yeah, I did a wonderful talk last fall at my son's Montessori school, related to children and the same message as far as the nutritional deficiencies, but how is that manifesting with diagnoses of ADD and ADHD, or lack of being able to focus, or even the injuries that we talked about. And so I'd be happy to come back on another show and talk about that too.
Awesome. Everybody wants the best for their babies, of course. I have 5 kids, and they're like everything, like most parents. So that'd be fabulous. That'd be awesome. And thank you again. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for coming back this week. We hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you next Wednesday on another live Abundance Lifestyle show. Thanks, guys.
Bye.